Hello, hello. You should be able to hear me now. Awesome, awesome. Hopefully, everyone is muted to help with the experience. Uh, Welcome. My name is Benjamin Garrett. This is a veterans recital for horn and piano. Everything that you'll hear today is originally either composed or arranged by me. If you care to symbolically or literally stand while we play the national anthem. Here we go. There we go. All right. So hopefully, excuse me, drop a piece of paper. You are now well in the mood. So when we think of patriotic music, the first musical style that comes to mind is that of a march. So composed in 1902 and published in 1906, the National Emblem March by Edwin Eugene Begley incorporates the first 12 notes of the Star-Spangled Banner in the opening section. The rest of the march follows the common blueprint of many marches of the time, with repeated strains and a trio section. When asked what are the three most effective marches, John Philip Sousa is quoted as mentioning two of his own marches and the national emblem as the third. This next piece is going to be my arrangement of the National Emblem March. In this arrangement, I try to give the horn a variety of roles, including melodies, counter melodies, and flourishing woodwind lines. This march and arrangement perfectly illustrates the versatility and the majesty of the horn. Please enjoy. Thank you. All right, that was National Emblem March. I have a little spiel that I'm going to read between each one so that I hopefully speak eloquently. So in 1998, Steven Spielberg directed and produced an iconic military movie, Saving Private Ryan. As per usual, Mr. Spielberg collaborated with renowned and iconic film composer John Williams. Interestingly, the use of music in the film was more sparse than their normal collaborations, but John Williams would, of course, not disappoint. For the end credits, John Williams composed a piece entitled Hymn to the Fallen, and in my humble opinion, is one of the most beautiful, reflective, and poignant pieces ever written. With all that said, when I was conceiving of this recital, I knew I wanted a similar piece in that style to pay homage to the millions of men and women who have died and served this great nation. As I channeled my own creative spirit to both honor those who have served and died, as well as to pay tribute to John Williams in my very, very limited way, this original composition you're about to hear was born. I've entitled it Prayer for the Honored Lost, and I attempt to create a reflective and nostalgic piece that would capture the reverence we have for those who have served and died, allowing us to enjoy the freedoms we have. The structure follows closely that of Williams' Hymn to the Fallen, with an opening reflective horn call, with an AABA structure very similar to Williams' work, all while slowly building an intensity throughout the work. This is Prayer for the Honored Lost, an original piece by me. And I need to empty my horn just a little bit. All right, here we go. clear the spit out of my horn. Okay. I've often wondered what motivates a person to be willing to give their life towards their country, as I am painfully aware of my own selfishness, anxiety, and fear. As I have wrestled with this question, one thing has become abundantly clear, that faith and patriotism are inexorably intertwined. A person cannot move forward towards potential death without a sense of faith and a belief in eternal life. Knowing this, I feel it is extremely appropriate to include hymns in this recital. The first hymn I have arranged is Near My God to Thee, a 19th century hymn by Sarah Flower Adams. It retells the story of Jacob's dream. The hymn is also deeply associated with the sinking of the RMS Titanic as the last thing that was played by the musicians on the sinking ship. For me, this hymn's beautiful melody, as well as its historical context, makes this hymn an ideal piece to include. Near My God to Thee. Next on the program is the iconic hymn, It Is Well With My Soul. The story behind this hymn is one of sadness, loss, and overcoming adversity / tragedy. Successful lawyer and property investor Horatio Spafford was financially ruined due to the Great Chicago Fire in 1871. If that was not enough, he also lost his son, age 4, of scarlet fever around the same time. 2 years later, he was planning a trip back to England. However, a business emergency forced him to send his wife and 4 daughters ahead on the SS Ville de Havre. Hopefully I'm saying that right. As it crossed the Atlantic Ocean, the ship collided with another and sank, killing 226 people, including his 4 daughters. His wife survived and sent a famous telegram simply saying, "Saved alone." Spafford traveled to England soon after to be with his wife. As he passed by the spot where his daughters drowned, he was inspired to write the lyrics that have become this profoundly iconic hymn. And the first stanza, when peace like a river underneath my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to know, it is well with my soul. So this is my arrangement of It Is Well With My Soul. We conclude our set of 3 hymns with what many might consider the most iconic hymn in America, Amazing Grace. Written in 1772 and published in 1779, Amazing Grace was written by English Anglican clergyman and poet John Newton. The hymn was born out of difficult life circumstances and a constant wrestling with God. In my research, I found this interesting description of him. As a youth, Newton began a pattern of coming very close to death, examining his relationship with God, then relapsing into bad habits. Sounds like every human being on earth. Amazing Grace's popularity cannot be understated. It is one of those hymns that has impact whatever your belief system and feels like a perfect way to conclude the hymn section of this Veterans Recital. Amazing Grace. America the Beautiful serves as one of the most well-known patriotic songs. Its lyrics were written by Catherine Lee Bates, and its music was composed by church organist and choir master Samuel A. Ward at Grace Episcopal Church in Newark, New Jersey. The two never met, which is an interesting little tidbit. My arrangement features 4 iterations of the melody. Each one attempts to depict a specific mood, which is indicated on the arrangement. The first is reflective in mood, followed by a more joyful rendition. Verse 3 is intended to be tender in nature, and finally heroic in nature in verse 4. Please enjoy my arrangement of America the Beautiful. Thank you, thank you. Grab a quick swig of water. As I stated at the beginning of the recital, when we think of patriotic music, marches are the first thing that comes to my mind. John Philip Sousa composed the Washington Post March in 1889, and it has become one of the most popular marches throughout the United States and even in other countries. So its inclusion on this program seems like a no-brainer. This is my arrangement of John Philip Sousa's Washington Post March. Hopefully you're in the marching mood. All right, this next description is actually just taken from the Library of Congress on My Country 'Tis of Thee. Although we know that Reverend Samuel Francis Smith wrote the words to My Country 'Tis of Thee, also known as America, the origin of the song's melody remains a mystery, and the history of its verses is even more complex. The son of Henry Carey, a British singer-composer, claimed his father was the first to compose both the words and the music to this tune as God Save Great George the King in London, 1740. However, Carey's son had financial reasons for making such a claim, and the music historians argued it was more likely any such tune would have been based on a pre-existing melody. Such an earlier melody, if did exist, has been attributed to various 17th century sources, including the English composer John Bull, the French court composer Jean-Baptiste Lully, and even a military hymn from Switzerland. Although the tune's exact origin is not confirmed, it was printed in England in 1744 in the tune book Thesaurus Musicus. The first documented version of this melody, printed in the American British colonies, dates from 1761. The tune of God Save the King was used in a slightly modified form as the melody for the hymn known as Whitefield's Tune, published in Urania, a collection of sacred songs compiled by James Lyon and printed by William Bradford. Sorry, this is kind of long-winded here. After the colonies became independent from England, the words were further adapted for use in the United States. For example, George Washington was greeted as he arrived in New York City for his first inauguration in April 1789 with the following homegrown words sung to the familiar air of God Save the King. The words that eventually became a tradition, particularly among U.S. school children, were written by Samuel Francis Smith while he was studying at Andover Theological Seminary in 1831. Smith was approached by the famed organist and composer Lowell Mason, who had with him some German school music books. Mason wanted Smith to either translate the German or write new text for the tunes. Smith was particularly struck by one tune, most likely unaware that it was the same melody as God Save the King, and wrote his lyrics to it. The song was debuted by Mason on July 4th, 1831, at a children's service at the Park Street Church in Boston, Massachusetts. This is my arrangement of My Country, 'Tis of Thee. It is standard practice at most veterans' performances and patriotic productions to perform the military branch songs. In my arrangement, you will hear the Army song first, entitled "And the Caissons Go Rolling Along." This is followed by the Marine hymn, then Anchors Away, the Navy's official branch song. After that, you will hear the Air Force theme, and the arrangement will conclude with the United Coast Guard. For those who served, if you are so inclined to stand in the comfort of your living room when you hear your song played, by all means. Thank you so much for those who have served and died to protect this great nation of ours. Thank you again to everyone who served. Empty my horn here real quick. It is customary for the playing of taps to be played in honor of those veterans who lost their lives serving in our military. As I was developing this recital, I felt a creative spirit inside me saying I needed to compose something special for this event. What was created was the piece you're about to hear, entitled A Fantasy on Taps. It opens with a statement of the standard taps gently being accompanied by piano, and then is slowly transformed into a musical journey that I hope will embody a variety of emotions, both reflective and heroic, but with a dash of drama. Please enjoy my original composition, A Fantasy on Taps, in honor of those who made the ultimate sacrifice for America. All right. So again, I would like to say how much I respect and admire those who have served in our armed forces. It takes a special and sacrificial person to be willing to put themselves in harm's way to protect the freedom that we often take for granted. The sacrifice this requires boggles my mind, especially when I think about my own selfishness and my own fear. I'm going to conclude this final selection on this recital. Most likely needs no introduction and is the most famous march of John Philip Sousa's catalog. Stars and Stripes Forever was composed in 1896, and in 1987, by an official act of Congress, was named the official national march of the United States of America. Stars and Stripes Forever. Thank you very much. That concludes my Veterans Recital on November 11th, 2024. Thank you very much for joining. Hopefully we'll see you at some future event, whether it's online or in person. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.